Good afternoon to our audience. Thank you for joining us today for a special webcast that we have, Partnering with NeighborWorks. My name is Catherine Baxter. I'm your moderator for today's event. And before we get started, let's go over a few housekeeping items as we normally do. Please adjust the volume on your computer so that you can hear this webinar. If you need to resize these slides, drag the bottom right-hand side to do that. And from this website, you will need to allow pop-ups. Throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit a question using the Ask a Question feature on the left-hand side of the console. And what I'd ask you to do, if you know the name or can remember the name of the person speaking, please address your question to that individual. So for example, if Mr. Hood was the one speaking, please address your question, Mr. Hood, so and so and so forth. And always, as in 3 weeks, this webinar is going to be closed caption for on-demand viewing in our learning management system. As I mentioned, we have a wonderful webinar for you today. We are going to be listening to comments from the NCOA chairman, Mr. Rodney Hood, and also the NCOA board member, Mr. Todd Harper. I'm going to introduce our webinar speakers. We have affiliates with NeighborWorks and credit unions. So our first speaker, of course, is going to be Marietta Rodriguez. She is the CEO of NeighborWorks America. And then she'll introduce Roger Nadrchal, who is the CEO of NeighborWorks Nebraska. He'll introduce Brian Christensen, who's the president and CEO of Columbus United Federal Credit Union. Patricia Garcia-Duarte is the president and CEO of Trellis, one of the affiliates. And Shauna Knox is the loan manager with MariSol Federal Credit Union. So without further ado, I would love to introduce at this point our chairman of the board, Mr. Rodney Hood. Mr. Hood, please.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for joining us this afternoon for the NeighborWorks America webinar. I'd also like to thank the NCOA Office of Credit Union Resource Expansion and NeighborWorks America, one of the nation's leading and preeminent affordable housing and community development organizations, both for planning this important and timely webinar. The overall goal of today's webinar is to educate credit unions about NeighborWorks America so that you all are aware of potential partnership opportunities with this vital organization. Today, you will receive an overview of NeighborWorks America's operations and a highlight of the NeighborWorks network organizations that are working specifically with credit unions. In fact, there's one that's going to be talking about some of its current partnership efforts. During my last tenure in the NCOA board, I served in the NeighborWorks Board of Directors, so I am very familiar with their work and long-standing commitment to support financial inclusion for underserved, vulnerable, and marginalized communities. Due to the ongoing pandemic, today's presentation is timely because NeighborWorks provides financial counseling services, which in turn helps individuals and families progress from financial crisis to a financial future. NeighborWorks plays a vital role in fostering greater investments and increasing access to affordable housing in our nation's most underserved communities, and their mission today is as important and vital as ever. Now for more than 40 years, NeighborWorks America has offered grant funding, peer exchange, technical assistance, evaluation tools, and access to training as the nation's leading trainer of housing and community development professionals. I was very proud to join Marietta, NeighborWorks America CEO, last year at the museum where they celebrated their 40-year anniversary. So it is great to be here again today. The NeighborWorks America network includes more than 240 members in every state, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. In the last 5 years, the organization has generated more than $40.2 billion in investments across the United States. Much like the credit union industry, NeighborWorks is community-focused and results-oriented. Their mission, again, is to create opportunities for people who live so that they can, in fact, live in affordable homes, improve their lives, and strengthen their local communities. Strengthening local communities is something the credit union industry has long valued. It's really important, and it embodies the credit union ethos of people helping people. And as all of you in the credit unions know, that ethos has long guided our industry now for nearly a century. In addition to their commitment to affordable housing through grants, technical assistance, and financial counseling, NeighborWorks has made diversity, equity, and inclusion part of its core mission. Not only are they exploring ways to be more inclusive in the workplace and with their workforce, but they are also exercising that in all of their community engagement activities as well. Before I introduce you to our next speaker, I would like to let you know that I am in awe of all the hard work you do to keep our credit union system safe and sound during this pandemic. I'm heartened by the work that you all do every day to work with your member owners, especially those who are experiencing financial hardship. It's my sincere hope that today's webinar will provide you with additional tools and resources to continue assisting borrowers. Your commitment to your member owners and your local communities truly makes the difference. And again, I want to thank all of you for what you do, both from NeighborWorks and from the credit unions joining us today. Now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Todd M. Harper. Todd Harper was nominated to serve on the NCUA board on February 6, 2019. The U.S. Senate confirmed him on March 14, 2019, and he was sworn in as a member of the NCUA board on April 8, 2019. Prior to joining the NCUA board, Mr. Harper served as the director of the agency's Office of Public and Congressional Affairs and chief policy advisor to former Chairman Debbie Matz and Rick Metzger. During his years on Capitol Hill as staff director, legislative director, and senior legislative assistant, Mr. Harper contributed to major financial services laws from the enactment of the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Financial Services Modernization Act in 1999 through the passage also of the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act in 2010. Last month, I am proud that as chairman of NCUA, I appointed Mr. Harper to serve as the NCUA representative on the NeighborWorks America Board of Directors. Board Member Harper, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Welcome.
I think we're having a little technical difficulties. Stand by. Let's go over and read our disclaimer before we start our webinar, and hopefully by then we'll have Mr. Harper back. Okay? So here's our disclaimer for the webinar. The materials presented in this webinar are intended as an informative and educational summary of general information related to partnership opportunities. The NCUA has taken reasonable measures to ensure the quality of the data and other information produced by the NCUA that is available in this presentation. The NCUA, however, makes no warranty, express or implied, nor assumes any legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, correctness, or completeness of any information that is available through this presentation, nor represents that its use would infringe on privately owned rights. The slides are intended for educational and discussion purposes and do not constitute legal advice nor replace independent professional judgment. Reference to any specific commercial product, process, or service by trade name, trademark, manufacturer, or otherwise does not constitute an endorsement, recommendation, or favoring by the U.S. government or the NCUA. Before we go on, we do have a poll question that we'd like to submit to our audience. So now please use the radio buttons on the presentation in front of you and select and let us know. We'd like to know who is here with us on the webinar. So what asset range represents your credit union? 0 to 50 million, 51 to 250 million, 251 million to 1 billion. Are you greater than 1 billion, or are you not a credit union? So we'll give you a few seconds to answer that. We'd just like to see who we have on the call today. And again, I do have to apologize. We are experiencing some technical difficulties, and we hope to resolve those shortly. Let's see who we have on the call today. Remember, use the radio buttons on your screen. All right. So here's who we have representing the credit union community today. And we have a few people that are not in a credit union, but it seems the asset size that is represented here the most is the 51 to 250 million area. Okay, so now let's move on, and we're going to introduce Marietta Rodriguez. She is the CEO of NeighborWorks America, and Marietta is going to take over from here. Marietta.
Thank you. We're really excited to be here with you today. We are excited to share who NeighborWorks is, what we do in the communities, and how we work with credit unions. So as you heard from Chairman Hood, we are a public nonprofit. We were created by Congress. We're 40 years old. We carry a statutory board. You heard Board Member Harper talk about that. And our mission is really to provide resources to a network of nonprofits. There are 240 of them. We are in every state of the union, inclusive of the District of Columbia and the island of Puerto Rico. And our organizations focus on housing and community development issues in their communities. We have a variety of services that organizations offer in their communities, including we offer grants to network organizations. We provide technical assistance, provide assessments, much like bank examinations to organizations to determine their health and their risk, as well as provide a fair amount of training and certification. We're one of the largest trainers of the community development field. Many people know us through our NeighborWorks training institutes. Those happen both virtually now in COVID, but they've also happened live and in person. To give you a better sense of what a NeighborWorks organization in a community might do, we have a variety of services that organizations offer, but they're very focused on local communities, what those gaps are, how can we have the highest impact. One of the models that we adopt at NeighborWorks is one of resident leadership. Back when we were created, there was a model that emerged out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where a group of residents in a community came together because they could not access capital to provide home improvement loans, to get new roofs, to buy a new furnace. And those residents came together with a group of government leaders as well as local banks, and they formulated this partnership, and that's a model that we continue to promulgate today. Our organizations usually focus on housing and community development. And to give you a sense of what those services might include, many of our organizations, 81 of the 240, are community development financial institutions or CDFIs. Many offer homeownership-related services, financial capability or financial literacy services, real estate development, as well as rental housing, as well as resident development and resident leadership services. So to give you an idea of scope and scale, this slide is meant to do that. Last year, we delivered almost 500,000 of total housing counseling services. Most of those services are provided to residents and communities at little or no cost. In addition, we also help create opportunities for home ownership. Last year, you can see we created over 26,000 new homeowners, and that could be through getting them mortgage ready through housing counseling services. It could be actually developing the home that they buy, providing them realty services, and even having them finance that mortgage. A lot of our organizations offer subordinate or down payment assistance on home buying. In addition, our network owns and manages almost 175,000 rental units across the country, which is critically important in many markets, and we also provide a fair amount of resident training. So that probably sounds really great, but your next question is, well, where are these organizations? Well, we're all over the country, and we're divided into 4 regions, and the regions are represented here. You can certainly go on to our website, www.neighborworks.org, and you can look up organizations either by state or by zip code. But we also support those organizations through our 4 regional offices, and those regional vice presidents are listed here. We really think there's a tremendous amount of potential and synergy between the mission of NeighborWorks organizations and the missions of many credit unions across the country. And what we're hoping to do today is share a little information about who NeighborWorks is, but also highlight a couple of really dynamic partnerships that are happening that can be examples of how credit unions can work with NeighborWorks organizations. So at this point, I would like to introduce Roger. Roger is the executive director of our organization in Northeast Nebraska, and he has an incredible partnership with Columbus United Federal Credit Union. So Roger, take it away.
So Marietta, I want to interrupt. Roger, hold for 1 second, please. We do have Mr. Harper back on. Mr. Harper, are you ready to finish your presentation?
I am, and thank you, Catherine. Technology confounds all of us these days.
Yes, it does.
So, as I was saying, I'm honored to be the NCUA representative on the board of NeighborWorks America, and this is my first speaking engagement since I was appointed by Chairman Hood last month. One thing that really excites me about today's webinar is that we will explore the shared and complementary missions of America's credit unions and NeighborWorks America, and Marietta just gave you a great preview of that. Both credit unions and NeighborWorks America are working to serve people of modest means. Specifically, America's credit unions work daily to provide access to safe, affordable, and responsible financial products. And NeighborWorks America, through its public and private partnerships, creates safe and affordable housing for people to own and rent. As a result, both credit unions and the organizations within the NeighborWorks America umbrella network improve lives, bolster financial stability of individuals, and strengthen communities. While working for Congress over the last decade, I saw firsthand the good work that NeighborWorks performs in places like struggling neighborhoods in central cities, changing suburbs, aging Rust Belt communities like the one I grew up in, and economically challenged rural towns. Today, you too will hear about how NeighborWorks and its partners, including credit unions, have impacted their members and the communities in which they live and operate. You will also hear more about how you can partner to build stronger, more dynamic communities that address the housing and economic needs of the underserved. Ultimately, my hope today is that this webinar will plant the seeds that will grow into credit union efforts to support the creation of new and affordable housing around the country. Going forward, I will be focused on assisting NeighborWorks America in fulfilling its important mission and exploring how credit unions may leverage their partnerships with this effective network. Thank you, Catherine, and now back to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harper. Thank you for your patience, and we thank our audience as well for our patience. I realized before we go to Roger Nadrchal and Brian Christensen, we missed a poll question. Here's the poll question that we missed. Are you familiar with NeighborWorks America? So this is a yes or no. Think about it. Have you ever had any dealings with NeighborWorks America? Have you heard about any of the works that they do? You listened to Marietta's presentation, and so they do wonderful things. And if you haven't, don't feel bad. You'll know a lot about NeighborWorks America by the end of this webinar. So let's see what you say. Who's heard of NeighborWorks? You know what? For our speakers, we've got our work ahead of us because we have quite a few people that have not heard of NeighborWorks America. Now, what I'm going to do is bounce this over to Roger Nadrchal and Brian Christensen. Roger, take it away.
Thank you, Catherine. This is Roger Nadrchal. I'm the CEO of NeighborWorks Northeast Nebraska, and I'm going to be sharing some information about our partnership with our local credit union, the Columbus United Federal Credit Union. Our organization started 26 years ago, and when we first established, our actual corporate name is Elkhorn Valley CDC. So we are a community development corporation by structure. Then in 2005, we had the opportunity to become one of the charter members of NeighborWorks America. So we are one of 240 organizations that have chartered with NeighborWorks America to be a part of that network. And going through the partnership with NeighborWorks America allowed us to take on the brand of NeighborWorks Northeast Nebraska. So it really identifies our area which we serve, as well as a partner with NeighborWorks Network. Our mission is to provide housing opportunities to individuals and families and strengthen and revitalize communities. So obviously we work a lot with our individuals and families in our area and working with communities. There's very little that we do as a standalone organization. It takes a lot of partnerships and efforts to pull together to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish on a day-to-day basis. Our service area consists of 7 counties in Northeast Nebraska, and it's not really a large geographic area. I would say the span from east to west is about 80 miles, and the same from north to south. In those 7 counties, we have 2 offices. The offices are located in the 2 largest communities in Northeast Nebraska, and the population of them is about 24,000 each. The next largest community in our area is about 6,000, then it drops down tremendously from there. There's about 35 different communities in our area, and so we are very rural and access a lot of the special rural programs and really depend on the rural economy to help support our local economics in our area. As you can see, I have 3 different lines of business listed there. First is our home ownership promotion, which includes our homebuyer education workshops. We provide them on a monthly basis. They're 8 hours each for anyone to join to learn more about what the involvement and what the process is of becoming a homeowner and then the responsibilities of being a homeowner. We also provide down payment assistance to promote home ownership. We have federal grants and state grants and local foundations to help support our funding to provide for our down payment assistance we provide to our home buyers. Now, our home buyers do need to meet certain income guidelines, so we're not serving the overall general public, anyone that walks in the door, but there are income restrictions that we do want to work with to help the individual with maybe a little bit lower income with their finances of purchasing a home. Then also under home ownership promotion, we do some new construction of housing developments. Our housing preservation is our largest line of business, which we do day in and day out. And we have a program called our Purchase, Rehab, Resale program. And with that, we do about 30 to 35 homes a year where we actually purchase a home, rehab it, bring it up to a certain minimum standards, and then sell it to our qualified home buyers with down payment assistance at that time. The community development component is where we definitely partner with communities on various housing issues. We've done several subdivision developments with other partners. We also have a workforce housing development subdivision going on right now. So majority of our work is with the lower income community, but also we're very attuned to the needs of the workforce in our area. So we're working on a subdivision to provide housing for that sector. Then also, we also provide a revolving loan fund called a Rural Workforce Housing Fund, where we have funds available that we can lend to developers to help keep the costs down of developing new housing in our area. The impact that we have made over these 26 years is we've developed over 820 single-family homes in our area. And with that, we've used various funding sources, various funding entities, such as NeighborWorks America. We receive funds from them on an annual basis. We also receive grants from HUD, which are home partnership funds. CDBG, Community Development Block Grants. We also, in Nebraska, we have access to a Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which is a great tool for us to have access to some grant funds here locally in our own state. And as well as we work with foundations, local partners, and various fees that we charge for our various programs. The communities I serve, like I said earlier, we've been in 28 of our 35 communities in our service area. We've educated over 3,000 households through our homebuyer education workshops. And that's households, not individuals. So we've been very busy. We offer those homebuyer education classes monthly. We also offer them in Spanish as needed. Due to the efforts and work of our housing development, the values of houses that we've either added to our market or improved with the rehab work has been a value around $23 million. What that means is the tax base is that much larger in our counties. Therefore, there's additional real estate taxes collected, supporting our communities, our counties, and various entities that receive the benefit of real estate taxes. So even though we're a nonprofit housing development organization, we are an economic development tool. We are improving and adding to the economics of our given area. Now, a little bit about our partnership with the local credit union. Here we have the opportunity to receive referrals for our programs from the credit union, as well as we provide referrals back to them when we're working with a client that is working on buying a home and having originally a connection with the credit union, and then work with them on getting their financing put together. As well as from time to time, the staff of the credit union has provided information at our homebuyer education workshops. They're always there to support any sort of special events that we provide and establish. And both Brian and myself serve on a local housing committee to talk about and work on different housing issues in our given community. The credit union is always there as a supporter of our organization, not only financially, but just a true advocate of our program in doing so. And Brian, who you're going to hear from soon, he has been a board member and also is our current president of our board. So Brian is a huge advocate of our program and a huge supporter of us. And with his financial background, really helps provide a lot of support to me and to our organization and to the board on looking at the various financial aspects of NeighborWorks Northeast Nebraska. Also, the Columbus United Federal Credit Union has been a part of a couple of different loan pools. We've set up a couple of participation loan pools to help cover some of the costs of some subdivisions that we've done in the Columbus area. And then recently established the Rural Workforce Housing Fund, our first time doing a revolving loan fund. That wasn't my forte, but Brian was right there to help us with that effort in helping support that. So not only with the customer base, but having access and the support of a local credit union, and with Brian as on our board, it's a huge asset to our organization to have Brian serve in that capacity. And so we really appreciate his participation and involvement. At this time, I'd like to introduce Brian Christensen, the CEO of Columbus United Federal Credit Union. Brian?
Thank you, Roger. As Roger said, of course, I'm Brian Christensen. I'm the CEO of Columbus United Federal Credit Union. And just to give you a little bit of background about our credit union, we started in 1949. And we were chartered by a local manufacturer, Balin Manufacturing, who actually now is an international company. And as time went on through the years, we gained about 120 segs before we switched to a 5-county community charter about 20 years ago. And as you might guess, with all that manufacturing, a lot of our members are blue collar. I would say most of our members are blue collar. And so our products and services are certainly geared toward that need. And I will come back and talk about that a little bit, about how that relates to NeighborWorks. But we have about 8,000 members, and we are $74 million in total assets. We currently serve 15 counties. Last year, the NCUA approved our field of membership expansion from 5 counties surrounding mostly Columbus, which is about 90 miles west of Omaha. With the expansion, we were able to encompass the community of Norfolk, which is the other community that NeighborWorks has an office in. So we were very glad to do that. And just to reinforce what Roger was saying about population. The 15 counties that we have constitute about 305,000 people. And of course, the 5-county area more than blankets the 7 counties that NeighborWorks serves. So just lining up that way is just very gratifying for us now with these additional counties. There's no hesitancy to even more fully support NeighborWorks and what they're doing in all their communities, for sure. Presently, we have 2 locations here in Columbus, which Roger says has about alluded to the fact that we're about 24,000 in population, and we have about 27 staff. Our mortgage loan operation is fairly robust. We have a secondary market operation where we sell loans in the secondary market. We also, at times, portfolio those loans. And as you might guess, we have home equity lines of credit. We have home improvement, home equity, those type of things. We also engage in government guaranteed loans. And as a matter of fact, the USDA Rural Development Loan, which we're able to offer because of the size of our community, and also Norfolk is able to offer this as well. That's the primary vehicle by which we are able to engage with NeighborWorks and take advantage of down payment assistance and those type of things. So we like to think that we've got just, all the bullets in the gun to be able to help our members in with all their real estate needs. As Roger said, I've been on the board of directors of NeighborWorks for about 10 years. I think the last 6 years I have been the chairman of the board, and I appreciate the kind words that Roger had about my participation, but I can also tell you that I've learned a lot myself, and that has been just a tremendous things to learn. And, as I mentioned, our membership is blue collar, and they are just absolutely right in the sweet spot for the NeighborWorks programs. And, I guess our approach to this is, given all the manufacturing we have, we have members that are working first shift. They'll be working second shift and third shift. So in the middle of the night while they're working hard, or whatever shift they're in, we're working hard. I like to think we're working hard for them. We are trying to develop programs and trying to increase the opportunities for our members to improve their lives. And I can't, we do numerous things in the community, but this particular program really has maximum impact, and we're very excited about that. As Roger said, there is the Purchase, Rehab, Resale program, which is quite effective for our community, taking properties that need some improvement, getting people in those houses and providing down payment assistance and so forth. But there are other things that NeighborWorks does that allows us to finance housing, and that has to do with subdivision development. And we have just in the last few years created a subdivision in Columbus, and where there were 40 homes built, about half of those were to be offered to the low and moderate income people. So some of our members took advantage of that, and were able to buy a home through the NeighborWorks program and get the down payment assistance. But at the same time, we were able to finance other homes in that subdivision for our members, for the members that did not require down payment assistance. They may have had the down payment already, but we may have also provided conventional financing with PMI or whatever the case might be. So we had opportunities to serve in those ways, and also loan participations. It gave us great pleasure, for instance, on this subdivision to participate with 5 or 6 of our local banks in providing a 0% interest rate for infrastructure inputs. So we combined the resources of all the financial institutions and participated in that, which was a great community partnership. As Roger had indicated before, without partnerships, we wouldn't be doing a lot of these things. And again, as I had indicated, the demographic service areas overlap. We have our community involvements as Roger had pointed out as well, and it's just great to be involved in all these different things. We're right. You might say we get to be at the tip of the spear for the things that are happening, so that has immediate impact for our institution in getting our members what they need. We also refer back and forth. We trust the NeighborWorks staff, and certainly they trust us, and they know when they're dealing with a credit union member, and they get channeled back to us, and so we're able to take good care of the 8,000 people that have been put in our charge. That's just a 20,000-foot flyover of what we do. The opportunities have been great from this partnership, and it's not one-sided. It's very much an equal partnership that we're very proud to say that we are part of. Here are our websites in case you are interested in checking either institution out. And of course, we're always welcome. You're always welcome to call and ask us questions anytime in the future as you may, excuse me, as you may have need. So with that, I will turn it back over to Catherine.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Patricia Garcia-Duarte. I'm the president and CEO at Trellis. I'm going to share the experience, the collaboration, the partnership between MariSol Federal Credit Union and Trellis. We're in Phoenix, Arizona, so greetings to all. First of all, let me start by thanking everyone for your interest in learning of how to work with your local NeighborWorks organizations. A little bit about Trellis. We are an Arizona nonprofit organization. We've been around since 1975, so this year we're celebrating 45 years. We're also a CDFI, and we've been a CDFI for about 10 years now. We have, in our tenure during the last 45 years, we have focused on home ownership. So I'm very proud to say that over the last 45 years, we've been able to help over 3,700 first-time home buyers with our programs, our preparation. We have built brand new construction or acquired and rehabbed over 300 single-family homes. We've provided housing counseling and financial education to over 44,000 households here in Maricopa County. We've also originated more than 2,100 mortgages to help people purchase their homes in a total of about $163 million. Of that, about $30 million has been in down payment and down payment assistance programs. Also, during the Great Recession, we were able to help more than 4,800 families prevent foreclosure, so we're very proud of that. Simply put, our mission is to make stable homes and communities possible by educating, building, and lending. Now, to learn more about MariSol Federal Credit Union, it's my pleasure to introduce our partner, Shanna Knox. Shanna Knox is the loan manager at MariSol Federal Credit Union, and I know she's been with MariSol Federal Credit Union for about 14 years. Shanna?
Shauna? We may have some problems with Shauna's connection. Hold on. Shauna, are you there? Well, while we wait for Shauna to come on, let's do our next poll question. Or maybe she's muted, you think? Okay, let's see.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, Shauna. Thank you.
Yes.
I apologize about that. Thank you, Patricia, for the introduction, and everybody. We're really excited to showcase our partnerships and talk about the things that we've been able to do. To give you a little bit of background about MariSol Credit Union, we have been in Maricopa County since 1954. We have been a CDFI since 2010. We are a CDFI Fund Grant Awardee, and our dedication is to serving the modest income members in Maricopa County. And we've been able to do that with partnering with Trellis for down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. And I'll let Patricia talk about some other partnerships in the next slide.
Thank you, Shauna. So how did we find each other? That was one of the earlier poll questions. So it was very simple for Robin Romano, who is the CEO at MariSol Credit Union. She simply sent out a letter to all the certified CDFIs in Arizona to find out who had an appetite and an interest to work together. So Trellis responded. And it was a very critical time for us because we needed capital for mortgage lending. So I have to say that MariSol Credit Union was a blessing for us during that time around 2010 because we were able to partner to do mortgage lending. Shauna, can you explain more about what we've done?
We have a poll question. Let's do the poll question first. So here's what we want to know from our audience. And I'd also like to remind the audience to please submit your questions for NeighborWorks and the affiliates and the credit unions. So do you know the NeighborWorks network organizations in your area? So this is a yes, a no, or we want to know if you're not a credit union at all. So let's give you a few seconds to do that. And also I'm going to remind our audience that there is a survey at the end. It's in your audience queue. You'll see a survey. It's real short. So please do our survey before you log off the call or while we're on the Q&A. Let's see what your answers are. Okay, so no. So again, we have our hands full here. There are a lot of credit unions that do not know the NeighborWorks organizations in their area. Okay, so let's turn this back over to Shauna.
Trellis has helped promote MariSol's Lend-A-Hand program to move the consumer from predatory lenders. And Trellis asked at this time if we could assist with PPP loans because their small business owners were not getting a response from the larger lenders. And so we said, yes, of course, we would love to help the small business community grow. And with Trellis, we funded over $188,000 in PPP loan funds. And total, we have funded over $1 million in PPP loan funds. The Pay Yourself Mortgage Program is like PMI, except the monthly premium is paid into a no interest-bearing savings account. And after year 10, the borrower is allowed to have access to the entire amount that's in that savings account and use it for home improvements or maybe debt consolidation or send a child to college. And with Trellis, we have funded over $1.3 million in the PYM program. So what's really nice about the PYM program is during this pandemic, the PYM savings was available to the membership, and we have allowed them to make their mortgage payments. It's not the intention of the PYM program, but it was a saving grace during tough times. And we were grateful that the money was there for the members to utilize and not have to have the worry of not being able to make their mortgage payment.
So far, have you heard something today that piqued your interest in partnering with NeighborWorks or partnering with an organization to assist your members? Would you say definitely something that you've piqued your interest? not really, or possibly. We'll give you a couple of minutes to do that, and then we'll go back and see if we can pick up Shauna again so that we can get the rest of her presentation. Let's see what your answers are. Use the radio buttons on your screen, okay? Did you hear anything today? Some people say definitely, and then we have a lot of possiblies. But at this particular point, I think what we're going to do is keep on and going to the Q&A. Just wanted to let the audience know that this webinar will be available not only on ncua.gov. So if we had any audio problems in the beginning, those will all be cleared up when you listen to it on ncua.gov, or go to our learning management service, and your credit union can open up an account there, because this service is specifically for credit unions. So it's ncua.usalearning.net, and we have a lot of educational materials there. All of our webinars are housed there, as well as courses and videos and other materials. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go straight to our Q&A. We're also going to ask again for the audience to fill out our survey. In your audience queue, you should see it there. It's listed as survey. Go through that really quickly, and let's see what type of questions that we have. I also want to put our contact information up here for our Cure office. Let's see if we have any questions. So we have a question here for Brian. Brian, are you there? Can you unmute?
Yes, I am
Great.
here. I just unmuted, by golly.
Okay, wonderful. So we have a credit union that says, which NeighborWorks is located in New York City? And do you know their website?
Oh, gosh, maybe that's not a question for me, Catherine. Maybe maybe Marietta could possibly.
Maybe Marietta, yeah. Marietta, can you?
No, I can absolutely. I can definitely help you. If you're talking about Manhattan, there's the NHS of New York City. They're a great organization. If anyone is interested in looking up the NeighborWorks organization in their area, you can go to our website and www.neighborworks.org, and there's a network lookup, a network directory there. You can search by state or by zip code. But for New York City, it's the NHS of New York City.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Marietta. So now I have a question that I'm just going to put to the panel. So I'd like everybody to be able to put their input in here. So this is a great question. A credit union says, how does a credit union offer financial classes to its members? How would it go about doing that? Does NeighborWorks offer assistance with that, or some of your affiliates? So Marietta, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. All of our 240 organizations offer different kinds of courses: financial capability, homebuyer education, post-purchase. Some even are Vita sites for tax preparation. So a lot of partnerships with financial institutions you could offer these, you could contact your NeighborWorks organization, see what services they offer, and offer those services to your members, credit union membership. And that would just be a matter of touching base with the NeighborWorks organization in your community. I don't know if Roger or Patricia have ideas or thoughts about how maybe they've done that as well.
Sure. What Marietta just said is, most organizations do provide that education component. So if you have a NeighborWorks organization close to you, you can probably partner with them. As well as NeighborWorks America has endorsed the eHome America version, which is an electronic version of the homebuyer education courses. So you can always access that electronically for your clients if they would like to take a full-fledged homebuyer education class electronically, and that's eHome America.
Wonderful.
This is Patricia. I would just add that we also have flyers or digital information that we can amplify, share to let people know how to register, how to participate in either the financial capability or the home buyer education. And oftentimes credit unions can offer that information to their members.
This is Brian. The nice thing about that is NeighborWorks is very much a trusted source for that, for homebuyer education and for financial education. There is no doubt credit unions should feel very comfortable making those referrals.
Wonderful. Shauna, do you have anything to add as well?
Yes, Catherine, thank you for including me on that. We actually have partnered with Trellis to do home buyer education programs, which it goes over the who's, the what's, the when, the where's, and the why's, and how to know that you're in with a good mortgage lender or not. So I would suggest getting onto NeighborWorks organization's website and see if you can find a local office near you to get connected with.
Awesome. Did I miss anyone on the panel? So we have one last question because we're running out of time. And this again is for the panel. So with regard to those classes on financial education, the credit union wants to know, are the classes free or are there income limitations there in order to take the classes? So let's start with
Marietta,
Go ahead.
I'll take a stab at that. Thank you, Catherine. I think it varies in each locality. Most of the classes are free of charge. Some organizations may charge something. You would need to reach out to those organizations. Each NeighborWorks organization is an independent 501c3 with their separate boards. So they may run things slightly different from location to location. But certainly you could ask, and you could easily work together to figure out what makes most sense for your membership if you wanted to make referrals. In terms of income limits, traditionally for the classes or the one-on-one counseling, there usually is not an income limit. Usually organizations will work with whomever, typically a first-time home buyer or a ready-again buyer, so maybe someone that's gone through foreclosure or is buying for the first time alone after a divorce or something like that. So those are usually free of charge. Some of the down payment assistance, sometimes special mortgage products, those may be more income driven. It just depends. Some of the housing that they may offer may be targeted certain incomes. So again, the best bet is to reach out to that local organization, and you can find them on neighborworks.org and find out what they're offering and what your needs are. Just because they're not offering something doesn't mean that they wouldn't be open to a partnership of creating something together. So I think innovation can really happen when the credit union and the organization get together and talk about needs and gaps in the community.
Awesome. Who's next?
Yeah, I would with our program, our homebuyer education, we charge a minimal fee like $50 per household. That's basically just to cover some of the materials that we do share with the participants. And each organization, of course, has their own fee structure and things like that. But there would be an opportunity for credit unions to partner with that NeighborWorks organization to maybe underwrite it and provide some funding for that to help reduce some of those costs that are passed on to the participants. And the same with the down payment assistance programs. Each organization structures that differently. It's usually income driven as far as you can meet the income guidelines. But as far as if there's fees and things like that, that's each organization's structure of how they have those set up.
Okay. So we have, anyone else want to chime in on that? Because I do have one final question that I'm going to ask. Anyone else before I ask this last question? So here's the last question. Credit Union says, if your local NeighborWorks is overwhelmed with wait lists or clients, how can a credit union best support their efforts? Who wants to take a stab at that?
Would you mind reading that again?
I can try to take a stab, and then Patricia and Roger maybe want to jump in. Okay. You know, I think you'd have to ask that NeighborWorks organization, but certainly if the NeighborWorks organization is overwhelmed and has a wait list, you should ask them, is there a way that we can provide some support, increase with your capacity. I don't know that that's a huge problem nationally, but there may be pockets where that's true. But I would start by asking them what's needed.
Great answer. Did anyone else want to chime in on that from Marietta?
This is Patricia. I agree. It all starts with picking up the phone or having that conversation and better understanding what are the needs. What are the needs of the community? What are the needs of both organizations, the credit union, the NeighborWorks member, and brainstorm and talk about how best to deal with them.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Okay. Well, everyone, we don't want to, we'd love to stay and answer some more questions, but we're fresh out of time. I'd like to thank our speakers. I'd like to thank Chairman Hood, Board Member Harper, Brian Christensen, Marietta Rodriguez, Patricia Duarte, Roger Nadrchal, and Shauna Knox. We appreciate your knowledge, and I have to thank Franz Ariento, he's our back office person, and Renata with On24. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this webinar. This will be available again in our Learning Management Service. You can also download the slides here in the platform, or you can wait until we load it to our Learning Management Service. We thank you so much for joining us. We want all of you to have a wonderful afternoon and a great week.
Thank you.